Hello, my name is Tammy Bower, and I want to welcome you to today's webcast brought to you by Pairsoft. 5 signs it's time to automate your AP process. We're going to get started. We have about 30 minutes to share what we have for you today. I want to encourage you, we've got a small group, so I want to encourage you on the Zoom tool to use the chat box for any questions that you have. I have a teammate on the line monitoring that and will let me know when there are questions in there that I need to address. But we're going to get started. Again, my name is Tammy Bower. I'm a senior solutions consultant here at Pairsoft, and I've actually been selling PaperSave, which is the software we're going to talk about today, for almost 15 years. And prior to that, I used to sell an accounting system. And prior to that, and I'm dating myself, I used to be an accounts payable admin. So it's exciting for me to be able to talk to you and show you how today's technology can really help you in the accounting department. Do more with less. And you're going to hear me say that quite a bit, because that's really what you need to do. You don't want to increase your bottom line. You want to be able to grow and do more with the same amount of people that you have today. So we're going to talk about that. But before we get started, I want to, I thought I had a slide that introduced our company. Well, I don't have that up. So we're going to talk about Pairsoft in general without my slide. But Pairsoft is a company that has been formed to bring together industry leading software companies, software products that fit the procurement to pay process. So today we're going to focus kind of on that middle area, on that accounts payable side. But Pairsoft actually has solutions for the procurement, that requisition with your catalogs and ordering and getting those documents and requisitions approved, all the way to payment, with PaperSave in the middle there doing the document management workflow and automation. So Pairsoft can provide you with a solution that meets all of your needs from beginning to end. Now, if all you do today is non-PO related invoices, well, great. We're going to be able to help you with that. And that's what we're going to talk about today. But that's Pairsoft, that's me. And so now we're going to go right into the 5 signs it's time to automate your AP process. The first sign is that your internal controls are failing you. So you might be sitting in this webcast today saying, yeah, I have the same people that are processing the invoices as well as processing the checks or cutting the checks. Or maybe that are doing the purchasing as well as the payment of the invoices. Maybe you have people that are working remotely, and getting the documents to those multiple locations is very difficult. Well, with an electronic system, you're going to be able to receive those documents and apply rules to the individual steps of that process so that you can have those checks and balances in place. So imagine having a person who plays the role of accounts payable, and they get that invoice in and they route it to the appropriate people for approval. When it comes back, maybe there's somebody else that does that final check to create the transaction inside of your ERP system. And I think today we're talking about, most of you on the line utilize Sage Intacct. And so we're going to actually go in that as well. Because one of the things that you want to be able to do is have the controls around your process, but also have them integrate with your accounting system. And that's what we're going to show you today as well. The second reason to automate, or sign that it's time to automate, is that delayed approval process. So think about all of the late fees that you might be incurring, or maybe even some early pay discounts that you aren't able to take advantage of. Well, if you're incurring any of these penalties, or your reputation with your suppliers, your vendors is not in the greatest of standing because of late pays, an electronic workflow system such as Pairsoft is going to be able to help you streamline that. And so one of the things I want to do is very quickly just kind of switch over to my my other page here, and we're going to stop this PowerPoint here and in my show here, and I'm going to take you to my homepage of Pairsoft. So one of the things that Pairsoft is going to let you do is it's going to allow you to route documents for approval. So with inside of a workflow, you can route a document that comes in. So let's say I've got this emailed invoice that's come in, and I want to get it over to a reviewer. Well, all I have to do is either type that person's name in here, and I've got some defaults already set up, maybe put in the GL distribution, and we can even route based on the department or location or one of your dimensions that you have set up in your account structure with inside of Intact. But as soon as I say route to, I need to put in a due date. So I have to put in that due date here. We'll talk about that in a second. So there are some required fields, and one of mine was not keyed in, but I can simply put that in as well, and then route that over to that individual. But what happens is when these documents are all electronic, not only are your approvers getting them right away, but they're also getting a notification that will allow them to approve or view their documents and letting them know that they've got things to approve. So right now, if you do not have an electronic system that you are, or maybe you're using emails to route these documents for approval, right? You are now in control or responsible for constantly letting them know or reminding them. Pairsoft is going to let them know that they've got these documents, and simply by clicking on the web here, the hyperlink within this email, it's going to open up and take them right to their group of documents that they have for approval. All right. Now, again, I'm an admin, so I don't just see mine, I can see everyone's. But there's another reason that's important too. And we'll talk about that in a second. Let's go back and start this PowerPoint again. Oops. So my display is now changed. Perfect. Let's do this. All right. So we've got those delays. And then there's also that lack of visibility. When you think about where those documents are and how you need to get notified that people haven't approved things, Pairsoft is going to be able to do that for you as well. And we'll show that in just a minute. The third reason that it might be important to identify that it's time to automate is the inefficiency that processing your AP costs. And there are a lot of costs around processing an invoice. In fact, statistics state that on average, it costs $20 to process an AP invoice if you have a manual process, meaning that document comes in, you either have to print it out because it's electronic and you then have to route it, or you have to attach it to an email and route it. They have to approve it, get it back to you. You then have to probably print it so that it can be a backup to the check that's going to be signed. All of that time and all of that reproduction of that document lends to a high cost of processing just one invoice. And again, it's about $20. And if you are doing PO related invoices, which Pairsoft can handle as well, that cost goes up by more than almost 3%, or sorry, 30%. So you're going to get even more. It's going to cost you even more to do that invoice with that matching of the packing slip and so on. And so these are the inefficiencies in a manual process that drive up the cost. Tracking down those approvals back and forth with an email. If you've ordered something and it came in more than what was ordered on the PO, or there's a discrepancy in what's been received, all of those drive up that high cost of processing. So Pairsoft can handle that. And one of the key areas as well that Pairsoft can eliminate right away is this first bullet, this manual process. And so I'm going to go back into Pairsoft again here, and we're going to minimize that. Excuse me. Let's go back to this screen here. Hold on. I'm looking for this screen. Sorry. There we go. So I'm going to go into the workflow again, and I'm going to talk about this OCR that happens. The OCR is optical character recognition. So what I want you to notice, and we'll go to one out here. What I want you to notice is that all of the fields that are required to create, or when you manually create a bill inside of Intact, all of that information is already populated. Because what happens is that Pairsoft, when the document is brought in, and there are a lot of ways to get the documents in, one of the most common ways is for us to monitor your email address where your invoices are already being sent. So again, streamlining the technology, vendors are emailing you invoices, right? And right now you might be printing them off or saving them out to a network drive. Well, Pairsoft can look to that email address and automatically drop it right within the workflow that you have configured within our system. And again, that's just another little step of the process that can be eliminated, freeing up some of that time from that accounts payable admin person. But we're talking about the OCR. OCR, optical character recognition. When an invoice is brought in, Pairsoft is looking for the vendor information, the address block, and the phone number. And those are the values that we then check against, in this case, your Intact system, to validate that it's a valid vendor. And we display the name, but we bring in that vendor ID as well. We're also then going to bring in the bill number, the dollar amount, and the bill date. Now, if in fact on your vendor record there are terms that are set up, we will then also bring in that due date or pay date or the terms so that you then can fill in those values. We also will pull in default GL distribution, the accounts that maybe you always utilize for that vendor. And then at this point, you don't have to do any data entry. All you have to do is route it to the approver, because at the end of the process, and we'll get to that end here in a second, at the end of that process, when it comes back to you fully approved, all electronic, remember all those people are being notified. When it comes back to you, this is one that I've processed a minute ago, you're going to be able to see who's approved it, right? So now we know, hey, Rose approved it and it was routed, it's coded, and then all I have to do is hit submit. Now I am gonna type in a few characters at the end so that a duplicate can be processed. Well, not duplicate, but different invoice number. But as soon as I hit submit, we have full integration with Intact. So I didn't have to do any data entry, and that transaction is immediately created with inside of your Intact system. But now, if you happen to be on the phone and you aren't using Intact, we integrate with many other accounting systems. But today I'm kind of focusing on Intact, and I think that this was, I think it was this one. Let's see what I have here. Nope. All right. We'll pull up one that I created a minute ago. Veritiv. All right. So let's pull open that bill in Intact here. And so what I want you to see is that Pairsoft in Intact actually becomes a tab along the toolbar here. So to see the document, it created that bill, puts in all of that information, and it creates that transaction and it marries the document. So to see the document, I simply click on it. Okay. So let's go back to my slideshow here. All right. So these are the three inefficiencies in processing. I talked about that manual data entry. Back and forth is again in that workflow. The fourth piece of PaperSave, the reason that we think it's time for you to automate your accounts payable is that you're growing, right? That's a good thing. That is a great thing to happen, particularly in this climate, right? We've been locked down for some time. People are starting to get back to work. Maybe you're in the office. Sometimes maybe you're working from home. But really, you need to be able to do your job and hopefully more of it without requiring additional staff. And again, the way that you're going to be able to accommodate this is by some of those features that I've just shown. Sending out those invoices electronically, having people be notified and reminded constantly, giving you insight as to where those documents are at any given time so that you can take action. All of this without having to add additional staff. You won't have any more late payments because PaperSave is going to remind you when documents need to be approved if they haven't been approved in the timeline set forth. And you're going to be able to focus on those contracts that you have with vendors and maybe get better discounts available because of the ability to process their invoices in a timely manner. So one of the things I do want to show you is giving you insight as to where those documents are at any given time. So we're going to come back out here and I'm going to again go out to my I'm going to go into a workflow again and think about the inquiries that you currently get. I'm in a workflow and I didn't talk about how to get there, but listen, PaperSave, we can do a demo and we can dive right into a lot of the detail. But if I'm an admin in the system, I can go into a workflow and see, doesn't matter what step the document's in, but I can see every document that's sitting in either that validation step or the review step or the approval review step or the escalation step. And so if I get a call from a vendor, all I have to do is filter. I can now look for a specific vendor within this stack. And if I look down here, there's 142 documents. I don't have to flip through them. I'm just going to look for a vendor that maybe starts with, we'll look at ArcBest. I like to pick on them. So I'm going to filter and say, okay, give me all of the ArcBest invoices that are sitting out in my workflow. Well, PaperSave immediately narrowed that 142 down to 20 or to 16 actually. And so now I can maybe find the invoice number. Now, all of mine are duplicates. PaperSave checks for duplicates. It won't override duplicates. So you won't have all of these duplicates in your workflow either. But once I find the document that I'm looking for, I can see that it's in Jimmy's inbox and it's been there for a while. So I want to notify Jimmy. I'm going to send him a quick email. Now, mind you, he's been getting all of those automated emails reminding him, but now I want to reach out to him. So I just come down to share, say email a link to Jimmy. Outlook is going to open. I type in Jimmy's email address, whatever it is, and I can say, hey, Jimmy, you need to get in there and approve this. And right from within inside of this email is a hyperlink that will open up that one document for him to approve. Now, if Jimmy has been non-responsive, which he has been since October, I also can redirect this. So I say, okay, enough with Jimmy. I'm going to redirect this. I'm going to send it to a higher level of approval within my workflow. And keep in mind, workflows are completely customer defined. So in my make-believe world, it goes from review to escalation. So I'm going to move it from review and I'm going to escalate it. And I'm going to actually send it over to his boss, Holly. And as soon as I choose change here, you'll see that this is now changed from review to escalation and from Jimmy to Holly. And Holly has immediately gotten an email letting her know, hey, you've gotten an escalation put into your inbox. And she can even have the option to approve that invoice right from the email. That's another notification option that they can have. Or Holly can come right into her workflow, open up this document, and hit the approve button. Now, I want you to notice something. Papersave is actually, as I mentioned, creating an audit history around where this document comes in and where it's been routed to, if it's approved, or in this case, I changed the step and I changed the owner. And as soon as Holly approves it, it's going to get date, time, and user stamp that it was approved. So when you think about all of those inquiries that you get, your company is growing. You want to do all of that with the same number of people. You're going to be able to answer those inquiries quickly. You're going to be able to find the document. You're going to be able to get action taken care of on invoices very quickly, all through this automation that Papersave has built with its integration with Intact. All right, so that is the fourth reason. Let's go back to my, let's go back here. That is the fourth reason it's time to automate. You're growing and you need to do more with less, all right? The fifth reason it's time to automate is the dreaded word, the auditors are in town, and last year it didn't go very well. So again, pulling from my experience as a former accounts payable admin. Now, when I was an AP admin, everything was manual. I don't even want to go into what we used to use, but if I had to pull backup for the auditors, it literally was filtering through the filing cabinet, pulling the originals. Now, I always took a photocopy of it because I wanted to make sure I got it back from the auditors. And so now I had two copies, right? I had the original and I had a photocopy of that one document floating around. Again, those are costs that add up to that high cost of processing or handling accounts payable if it's not automated. But then I'd have to file the documents back. So not only was it a pain getting the documents and then getting them to the auditors, but then I also had to take the time to file it back. And another statistic I want to throw out there to you as well is that 1 out of every 10 documents are either lost or misfiled. So if the auditors ask for 100 invoices, guess what? You're not going to find them all. So now you've got the cost of having to reproduce them. And another statistic on that is $200. If you have to go back to the vendor, get that document, jump through all of those hoops, on average, it's costing your company $200. So guess what? Papersave has a way that you can get to those documents and not even have to reproduce them for the auditors. So let's go back out to my screen here. And I think that this is probably the best thing since sliced bread, if I could take an old saying here. Papersave has a search tool. Now I've gone in just for time purposes and I've created a search. Now I've done it very simple. I've just said, give me all of my invoices between a certain dollar amount. But listen, I could add another criteria and I could do date range. I could do batch number. I can do bill number. I can do state or summary or created by or GL distribution or whatever it might be, right? So I can build on this query, whatever the auditors are asking for. Say search and Papersave pulls all of those documents. So this is the result. Now, again, mine is all of my invoices between a certain dollar amount, right? So here they are. Well, listen, Papersave gives you the option to reproduce them in many ways. If I click on all of them, I could print them. I hope that you never, ever print another document again when you're working with Papersave, because we have a lot of other ways to get those electronic documents out there without having to kill all the trees that we used to do in the 90s and the 80s. But I could share them. Remember, I had the ability to share as an email link. I could also share as an attachment. Now, there are 84 invoices that met that criteria. 84 attachments might be a lot, but I could download them as well. I could download them, save them as a file out on my network drive and email them. Again, reproducing the document again. So you really don't need to have more than one of them floating around. So what we suggest is exporting it out into an Excel spreadsheet, right? So now what I can do is simply click on all of these boxes here by checking on that upper box, say export to Excel. And now I've got an Excel spreadsheet that will open up here in a minute. Give me the detail. Now I have date received and some comments columns that you may or may not have. I don't have my GL distribution, but I could have that listed here as well. I could also see an image of the check. If I captured back an image of the check, I could see all of that. I can share this with my auditors. PaperSave gives unlimited number of users, so they're not even using a user license when they come into your office. They just have to be set up to view a document in PaperSave. They get this Excel spreadsheet and look what they have here. They have a hyperlink right back to the document. So they click on this hyperlink, it opens up PaperSave for them. They can see the document. They can also see who approved it, all of that. This one didn't go through an approval process, obviously, but they would see who approved it, who reviewed it, who rejected it, where it went through that whole process. And then we're also creating another audit log. And this is going to start tracking at the life of the document after it's created and the transaction has been created inside of Intact. It's going to track who's viewed it, when, if I had, now the vendor or the auditors aren't going to have the ability to make changes, but let's say it's me in the accounting department that has the ability to make changes. It's also going to track that information as well. I have to hit refresh or save, but it will track that as well. But think about your audit and the way it happened last year and probably the way it might happen this year, and how simple it was. I created a search. I clicked this box, I exported it out, sent them the email or sent them the Excel spreadsheet, and they had the ability to click on the hyperlink and see the document. Very simple. All right, so let's go back to my audit. Ashley, I don't know if there were any questions. We've got about 2 minutes left. I do want to let you guys know if there are any questions, or let's even talk about this. You have more questions, let's schedule a demo. There's far more than what you've seen in this 30 minutes to PaperSave, as well as the whole Pairsoft suite of products. If you are looking for a procurement software program, we have that. That's tied right in again with Intact and PaperSave. And we can get you the whole suite of products and do a demo for you. It looks like there might be one chat. Let's see. No questions from Ashley. All right. Well, we're going to end. It's right on the 30 minutes. You should be receiving your Pinatagram in the mail. I hope you enjoy it. It's just a fun little treat to say thank you for joining and kind of give you some sweets throughout the holiday season. But I look forward to speaking with each of you on a one-on-one demo. So reach out to info@pairsoft.com and we'll get you scheduled. Thanks and have a wonderful day.